Great. I'll call to order the March 16th, 2021 meeting of the Arvada Planning Commission. Ms. Connell, will you please say the Pledge of Allegiance?
I don't have my flag with me, but, oh, there we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Patty. Ms. Hutchinson, will you please call the roll?
T.O. Owens.
Here.
Michael McCarran.
Here.
Andrew Gay.
Here.
Patricia Connell.
Here.
Michael P. Griffith.
Here.
Doug McGee.
Here.
Steve Hannon.
Here.
All right, thank you. The minutes of the February 16th, 2021 meeting have been submitted for approval. Are there any additions or corrections to the meeting minutes?
Yes.
McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one, if I may. There's a lot of wonderful detail in this meeting summary, but one of the questions that I asked about the Morgan-Ralston Creek application, middle of page 7, after I asked about the bike parking, I also asked the applicant, and we got an answer from Mr. Brockman about whether there would be charging stations for electric vehicles, and that's not in the minutes. So I would like to see that show up in the final record. Thank you.
All right. Josie, is that you good with that?
Sarah, did you?
I'll make
touch
that
on
correction.
Okay.
Sarah, thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right. Then the minutes stand approved as corrected. We have no general business items and no new reports, or no new reports tonight. Petitions and communications. This is a time when anyone may address the commission regarding items that are not listed as public hearings on tonight's agenda. Josie, is anyone signed up to speak?
I do not have anybody signed up to speak on this topic.
All right, thank you. Then let's see, the public hearings on tonight's agenda are DA 2020-0122, public access easement for Wet Rabbit Car Wash, generally located at 9159 Kendrick Street, and DA 2020-0122, major modification for Wet Rabbit Car Wash, generally located at 9159 Kendrick Street. Are those the same? They're the same numbers? They're DA 2020-0122. They're both the same. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
I want to remind those in attendance that the following case will be rescheduled for the April 20th, 2021 Planning Commission, and that is DA 2020-0118, Maple Valley Park annexation and rezoning, approximately located at 6900 Indiana Street, and DA 2020-0117, Project Indiana annexation and rezoning, generally located at 6730 Indiana Street. At this time, I'd like to explain the procedure for the public hearing. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation to the commission. They will be limited to 30 minutes. After the presentation, public comment will be given, and each member of the public that is registered to provide a comment will make their comments, and then they will be moved back as an attendee where they will be able to listen to the meeting. The applicant will then be given 10 minutes to make rebuttal if they choose. After all the testimony has been heard, the public input portion of the hearing will be closed, and the questions will be taken from the Planning Commission. As part of the sign up for this meeting, all of the applicants and public commenters have sworn in using the sign up sheet. All right. So now we'll open the public hearings with DA 2020-0122, public access easement for Wet Rabbit Car Wash, generally located at 9159 Kendrick Street, and DA 2020-0122, major modification for Wet Rabbit Car Wash, generally located at 9159 Kendrick Street. Staff, is there any posting or notification requirements?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the applicant was required to send out written notice 15 days before the hearing post signs on site, and notice for the public was published, and they're all in order.
Thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the staff report?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. Staff, are there any additional items that have been received and will be made a permanent part of the record?
No,
All right.
I have
Thank
not
you.
received anything.
Thanks, Carol. The following items have been submitted and will be made a permanent part of the record: the staff report, posting log, and affidavit, and the mailing affidavit. Carol, can you introduce the project to us?
Yes, the project before you is 3 major modifications of the Land Development Code and a vacation of a public access easements that is required with the site plan. So we're bringing that before you. The applicant, Craig Kahn Architectural Group, is requesting approval of 3 major modifications standards for enclosed car wash and the fence and wall and height standards. The first request is to allow the location of the doors to face the street when the code says you shall not face adjacent streets. Exterior vacuum machineries to be located within the building, and only the hoses are located outside, and the maximum height of the fence wall to be increased from 6 to 10 feet. The vacation of the public access easement was dedicated prior to the site plan being reviewed with Candelas Commercial filing to subdivision plat for this lot. And that at that time, a public easement was shown on that plat. The applicant is now requesting that this be vacated because they're putting in a new public access easement configuration, and that would be platted with the minor plat that they're also processing with the site plan. Staff supports and recommends approval of the major modification and the vacation of the public access easement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there an applicant, representative from the applicant present?
Yes, my name is Craig Kahn. I'm the architect, and I have with me the owner, John Brinkman, as well as Chris McClure, and also accompanying me is Mitch Shear. He is our civil engineer.
All right. Mr. Kahn, could you give us your name and address? I need you to spell your last name for the record.
Yes, my name is Craig Kahn. It's spelled C-A-H-E-N. My address is 7000 East Bellevue Avenue, Suite 355, Greenwood Village, Colorado, 80111.
Thank you. Please tell us about your application.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, as well as staff. We are here to present the Wet Rabbit Car Wash project. It is to be located essentially northwest of the existing King Soopers on the northwest corner of Indiana Street and Candelas Parkway. It is located on the north side of West 91st Place. The parcel is about 2.75 acres. It will be subdivided into 2 lots. The western lot, lot 1, will be the location for the car wash. It is a 5,900 square foot single tunnel drive-through car wash where you go through the cash, you pay your money, select your car wash, stay in your car, you are directed into the tunnel, you ride through the tunnel, and then after you wash your car, there are exterior mounted vacuum stations if you choose to vacuum your car and or dry your car if you so be it. If we can go to Carol, if you can go to the next, okay, the vicinity map, there you go. That's basically where the site is for reference. Probably the next page will be even better. The site is bordered in green. The dashed red line shows the approximate location of the proposed replat line between the 2 lots. To the north of the site is a detention area to the east of the daycare facility, which is to the upper left of our site. Again, King Soopers is to the lower right. A detention pond exists for the King Soopers development directly across West 91st Place from us. There is the existing Kendrick Street along the west property, as well as a existing curb cut directly opposite the rear curb cut leading into the King Soopers development. Next slide, please. This is the proposed lot configuration of the entire 2.75 plus or minus lots. Up in the upper left corner of lot 1, you see the existing easement, which is one of the major which is the replat of the existing access easement to provide access into that detention pond I mentioned to the north of the site. Again, its sole purpose of vacating the easement and replatting is to align it with the proposed roadway that we have on within our site plan. Next slide, please. This is the proposed site plan indicating the car wash building with one curb cut onto Kendrick Street and the other utilizing the existing curb cut on West 91st Place. Connecting these two entry points will be a new ring road that will be constructed in and around the development, essentially bifurcating the lots between our lots 1 and 2, and the lot owned by, I believe, the Candelas Corporation to the east. Both lots, we're only at this particular time, we are only developing the western lot, lot 1, for the car wash project. We are going to replat into lot 2, but there is no plans in the works right now in any way, shape, or form. It will be just simply future development as those opportunities present themselves. The cars will access the site, again, approach the northern end of the building, go down along the west side along Kendrick for stacking purposes, go through the pay kiosks, swing around at a 180-degree turn, and then enter the tunnel on the south end of the building. And then go through the tunnel, exiting on the north side. The vacuum stations will be in the parking area to the right. Next slide, please. Car wash there. Vacuum and trash enclosure. As Carol mentioned, that's something we'll talk about here in a minute. And the new ring road connecting the two points of entry. Next slide. This is an aerial, kind of give you the whole overlook. Again, we're looking from the corner of West 91st Place and Kendrick. The car stacking up along the west side, going through the pay kiosks, again, swinging around, as I mentioned, accessing the tunnel entrance on the south side. The vacuum stations are in the paved areas that you see on the east side of the car wash building itself. The trash enclosure and vacuum enclosure is the small structure on the very top of this slide. Next slide. This is an aerial from the southeast corner looking directly at the tunnel entrance as the cars swing around, and a little better view of where the vacuum stations will be positioned in that parking area. Along the southern edge, separating the drive aisle entering the car wash, is going to be a rather heavily landscaped earthen berm, 3 to 4 feet tall, again, helping to block the visual access to the tunnel entrance. In this rendering, however, that tunnel entrance is actually a glass door, overhead sectional door, not a solid that you see here. I caught that one very, very late in the game, so sorry, my apologies to everybody. It is incorrectly shown on the elevations, which you'll see in a minute. Next slide, please. Here are the elevations again. The southern elevation is on the upper left. The northern elevation where the cars come out is on the upper right. The east elevation in the middle, and the west elevation along Kendrick on the bottom. You can see there is quite a juxtaposition of materials, colors, projections, parapet jumps and tower elements to effectively break up the massing of this building and to really give it some movement as you traverse along the property. This is not a single block of building in any way, shape, or form. Multiple kinds of fenestration. We want to bring a lot of natural light into the tunnel, as well as the office spaces and even the equipment room, where most of the cleaning equipment is housed. Next slide, please. These are the elevations of the trash enclosure. As one of the major modifications, we are proposing to extend the height of the trash enclosure past the LDC recommended height to 10 feet. This is to locate the vacuum equipment on the outside of the building, also part of the major modification request. The vacuum equipment could be positioned inside the building. However, it doesn't perform as well. It doesn't perform for our clients and guests. And noise in this particular development, as we are surrounded by our property to the east, a detention pond to the north and the south, and then Kendrick on the west, that is also being blocked by the car wash building itself. We feel that essentially noise will not be an issue. We're asking for the request to extend the walls up to make sure of that. Again, the sole purpose is to have the vacuums work better, pure and simple. Next slide, please. This is a rendering from the corner of West 91st and Kendrick, showing the start of the berm behind a proposed sign, which will be under separate permit, of course. Kendrick along towards the left, car wash building beyond, and the berm that extends along West 91st Street. Next slide, please. This is at the Kendrick entrance looking to the southeast. That is the northern end of the building, and showing the stacking lanes. The grade on Kendrick is actually about 4 feet higher than the building. So you're actually, the cars are actually almost fully screened, but we will be looking down at the building and down at the cars queuing along Kendrick. Next slide. This is a close-up of the building, again, showing the variety of materials, projections, both vertically and horizontally of the building, and just a little close-up view of the entrance to the tunnel. And the large windows that you see on the east side, again, is to bring natural light into the tunnel, so it doesn't feel quite so much like a tunnel. Again, the vacuum stations are where all the cars are headed and parked that you see. Next slide. Again, this is an area with a little better close-up of the bermed area with the large plantings that we have planned there to get a more 365-day screening effort of that door. Next slide. This is an actual view from a car driving along West 91st Street. Again, you see the berm in front. I believe if you hit the next slide, there we go, the landscape berm there. And again, the purpose of which is to get the plants up even higher to form that visual screen. Again, as you can see, the entrance door to the tunnel is very difficult to see. Next slide. Tunnel entrance. It's been 2 weeks since I sent this, sorry. Again, a little further back view east, again, the berm, it does extend that far. And with the plantings, we just feel that we have more than accomplished the screening of that tunnel entrance. The reason for the request simply is we cannot position this building in any way, shape, or form that the tunnel entrances or exits will not face a street. Kendrick, if we were locate the building, if we could east-west, it would show on Kendrick. We chose this orientation. It's a better use of the site since we're facing a major commercial area. It's actually the side of the King Soopers building, as well as their detention pond. We feel it more than meets the intent of the LDC in this case. Next slide. Again, the landscape berm. Again, there. So I guess that will basically bring us to the conclusion of our presentation. And we look forward to receiving your comments and questions, and we will address those as they come up.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll have some in just a moment. I'll open the hearing for comments from the public. Josie, is there anyone registered to speak on this topic?
I do not have anybody registered. I do have one person on the phone, and Nancy, if you would like to make any kind of comments, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Thank you. Then I will close the public input portion of the hearing and invite questions and comments from members of the Planning Commission. Mr. McGee.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I had to hit the unmute button. So are we going to talk about the annexation first or the major modifications? Where do you want me to start with questions? Or
you are welcome. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, so on the not the annexation, I'm sorry, the vacation of the easement. So I have a few questions of staff about that. First being, so is the easement in the city of Arvada jurisdiction solely, or is it also handled by the metropolitan district in the area?
So the easement, the current easement is to allow for the access for both public. Originally, when this was platted, there was really no known user. So the intent was to still allow for the Metro District and the city to access the entrance to the detention area for
Right.
maintenance. And so we figured that that was going to change with the new site plan. However, at the time, that was necessary. So that was what was provided. And then now we have an applicant that's going forward. And so they'll be providing the access easement to that area. It's just configured to match up with their proposed access easement. So it would be a public access easement as well when they develop the site for that site as well, and the adjacent lot. So it's that ring road that is being created at this time now that we have users and how they want to lay out the site.
Okay, so that ring road, the applicant showed an aerial view that answered one of my questions, that Joyce Street to the north of 91st Place doesn't exist. So are they constructing that ring road as part of the application?
No, the JCMD, the Metro District, is working on the Joyce Street. That is being, we're reviewing some plans right now. So this one will only serve this side of the property, and then they go out to the street, and then you have Joyce Street that goes further on the east side, and that's another entrance. So that's being reviewed and then will be constructed in the future as part of that development that would be at some point be developed as well. That would go up Joyce Street, go north, and then go up to Indiana Street to service those lots.
Okay, so they're only going to build, not really a ring road, that's eventually in the plans, but just build enough of that. Is it a public road, a fire lane? I know it's public access, but they're only building a piece that gets them into their development,
That
right?
is correct.
Okay.
They're only working on what's appropriate for their two lots to serve their lot, and that would be both a fire lane, emergency access fire lane, public access easement. So that would be, it's still part of, it's within the lots, but that is available for those uses. So we do have access to that, and that's what's being requested tonight.
so it's a private road. They're then responsible for plowing it in major snowstorms like earlier.
Typically,
Okay.
yeah, either that or if they can contract with the Metro District. Again, this is all part of this area, and so there might be something that they're required to do that works out with the Metro District, but that road is to service these two lots.
Okay, great. That's all I have, Ms. Ibanez, for staff. Thank you very much. And
You're
a couple
welcome.
of questions for the applicant, Mr. Khan, if I could get you, and maybe you direct it to any of your colleagues that are on the line. The berm that's proposed, again, your presentation answered one of my questions, that berm to help raise the landscaping to hide the facility basically in that tunnel door. Do you know how long it is? I at first thought it went all the way around Kendrick Street, but it looks like it's only along 91st. Is it 100 feet, 150 feet? Do you know?
Boy, that's a very good question. I don't know directly. I'm looking at the site plan right now. I would say the total berm length would be roughly in the 80 to 100 foot run. Mitch, Ms. Shear is our civil engineer. Mitch, do you have a better answer?
Yes, it's approximately 150 feet. There is an ADA ramp that connects our site to the public sidewalk. So the berm kind of stops there, but then it picks back up both sides of that ADA ramp area.
So 150.
Correct.
Okay. So just a comment, and your sketches of the elevation showing the landscaping are really nice and everything. My suggestion would just be that, just like we ask an applicant to articulate a building and change the look, that maybe you add something along that 150 feet to break it up. Split rail fence in a place or two, maybe some outdoor art or something, just to break it up, because otherwise it's just going to look like this big evergreen and landscaped barrier. And so just a suggestion that maybe you do that. And so a question now about the vacuum facility.
Mhm.
Have you thought of, or was there a discussion about putting a roof on that so that you're actually more close to what the land development code requires of having the vacuum equipment inside a building?
Again, yes, we did review the roof, putting a roof on it, but it brings back the same issue, is that, with vacuums, you're moving a lot of air, both in and out. So the roof does pose a problem. It's like, trying to have a fan blow air into your house, but you close the window, kind of a thing. So it really doesn't help our situation whatsoever. We're trying to get the maximum, vacuum production out of it by locating it outside, just so we don't have that issue.
Well, I'm assuming that technology with motors and everything they're quieter than they used to be with at car washes, and that most of the sound is really at the end of the vacuum hose that people are using inside their car or truck. So, okay, those are all the questions. You answered other ones with your presentation, so I appreciate that. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gay.
Thanks, Chairman. I don't really have a question. It's more of an observation or a corollary to what Mr. McGee was talking about with the ring road. So I guess it's aimed at the city staff. I'm just a suggestion. This ring road, we have 3 different street widths. Kendrick is 25 feet. The north side of the ring road is 24 feet. And a very narrow 22 feet where a lot of people might be coming in and out from King Supers. My suggestion would, unless there's some kind of property ownership problem, that continuous 25 feet all the way around would make sense. But that's just a suggestion, and I don't have any comments on the major modifications. They seem to be well explained. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Chair. I just have two questions. One's for the applicant. This is a consideration that I was thinking about with your vacuum dilemma. It would seem to me that if you house the vacuum mechanical equipment within the envelope of the building, you create like a heat generation source that you're going to have to combat. So it seems like there's an efficiency to putting it outside beyond the function of it. So that's just a general comment. The other thing is I wanted to bring something up. It's not a huge negative for me. It's just something that comes up a fair amount with landscaping, and I think it's more glaring with this one. So when we look at renderings of landscape material, we're looking at like mature renderings, and I guess this is maybe more for the city. Is there a standard by which we measure the mature expectation of a landscape buffer versus the installation sort of character? Because the installation, obviously, that it's not going to be mature plant material. It's going to be standard size trees and shrubs, and it will take it some time to get to the rendered plan. So I just appreciate some insight from the city side if we have any standards there.
Well, typically our requirement is that when they install it, and there's a minimum of, I believe, 2 feet for some of the evergreens. So there is minimums, but no, we don't require them to plant, because those are something that it's expensive and probably the life of it, how it work. So that's where we stand with that. The intent, though, that the planting materials and trees that are going to grow is the estimated growth of what that would be if it is at maturity. So that's the unfortunate part, is we get it at the front end and then wait for it to bloom and grow and stuff. And so that's how we treat that.
I would appreciate it maybe if just as a consideration for the applicant, since this is being used as a visual screen in connection with a modification, consider maybe installing some mature materials, maybe slightly beyond, don't have to put yourself over it, the city standard, because then you could realize that screening at installation and not at some point in the distant future. And Chair, those are my only comments.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else have further comment? Mr. Hannon, Ms. Connell, Mr. McCarron, I don't see any more. All right, if there's no further discussion, the chair will entertain a motion. Mr. Griffith.
Thank you, Chair. I motion that DA 2020-0122 public access easement for Wet Rabbit Car Wash, generally located at 9159 Kendrick Street, be recommended to City Council for approval. This motion is based on the findings of fact and approval criteria on pages 7 through 9 of the staff report.
All right, the motion is for approval. Any discussion of this motion? Oh, Rob, what did I miss?
No, I think it was unfortunately just the way the motion was worded on the documentation you received. It should be that hopefully that you are supporting or recommending approval of the vacation of a public access easement. And I realized the word vacation did not get on there.
Vacation. Yep.
Oh. Yeah, so I then would add.
Would you like to include the word vacation?
Yes, I'd like to include the vacation word.
Awesome. All right. So our motion is for approval of the vacation. Any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Griffith.
Aye.
Ms. Connell.
Aye.
Mr. Hannon.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. McCarron.
Aye.
Mr. Gay.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. So we have 7 yeses and 0 no's. That motion carries. Mr. Griffith.
Thank you, Chair. I motion that DA 2020-0122 major modifications for Wet Rabbit Car Wash, generally located at 9159 Kendrick Street, be recommended to City Council for approval. This motion is based on the findings of fact and approval criteria on pages 7 through 9 of the staff report.
All right, thank you. The motion is for approval. Any discussion of this motion? Mr. McGee.
Thank you, Chairman Owens. Yeah, just a couple of comments. I generally like this proposal that the applicant has brought to us. It's a needed service in this area. I like that it's clustered with the other services out there and across from King Soopers. It keeps everything kind of compact. I like that. We'll be getting some new primary jobs in the area. The building design is pretty good. I mean, it's a car wash, so but it looks pretty good. They've taken some good time to come up with a design that meets the standards of the metropolitan district. And finally, I did want to just comment that I like the fact that the applicant is paying attention to water conservation and also to using green wash solutions in their project. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. McCarron.
Yeah, I live on that side of town, and it's definitely a needed service. So I think, you know, from a business note, I think this is a business that will thrive and prosper, and I think you better be, you know, prepared for how you handle growth and how you handle, you know, too much patronage, if that's a issue for a business. But obviously that's just a side commentary to businessmen. You run your business how you see fit, but I think this will go over well. And like Commissioner McGee, you know, the water that you stated that you were able to use and save, I thought was a really big deal. Not a ton of water on that side of town, not a ton of water, you know, available. So it's the conservation side is important.
Great. Thank you. Mr. McCarron. I'm sorry, Mr. Hannan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank staff and the applicant for the work that's gone into this. Very seldom is there a case where the setbacks have been exceeded so much, the building height has been limited, the landscaping and buffering have been so much more than was minimally required. And as we've heard from other commissioners say, the environmental impacts of this are huge. So I will definitely be supporting this.
Great. Thank you. Further comments?
I do.
Go ahead, Ms. Connell.
I would comment about the extensive landscaping, and adding something like that softens the building for that.
Great. All right. Thank you. Any further comments? All right. Seeing none. Mr. Griffith.
Aye.
Ms. Connell.
Aye.
Mr. Hannan.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. McCarron.
Aye.
Mr. Gay.
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. So that is 7 yeses and 0 no's. That motion carries. Good luck with your project. The staff will, you know, talk to you about next steps and your approval at City Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Staff, are there other items to consider tonight? Mr. Stachelski?
No, I don't believe that there are.
It says, Mr. Stachelski will discuss future meeting format.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think that there are. I was thinking about it in terms of cases. What we wanted to discuss is just we discussed on the idea of revisiting the concept of when this team would meet in person again. And so we just wanted to have a brief conversation to get your guys' feeling about when that may be. We have had some conversations with the public asking about that, but I think that it's worth having the discussion as the planning commission, and then we can make that determination from there.
So in full disclosure, Ryan called me a couple of weeks ago to ask this question. We had a discussion about a month ago where we discussed this, and we said that we would not like to meet in a hybrid format, that we would like to all be in person or none in person. And I'm supportive of that. And we want to make sure that we're at a point where it is safe for the public to attend. And so, you know, we're addressing it tonight. And I think There is a case next month that's going to probably draw a lot of attention, and it might be difficult to get lots of people into council chambers, and especially in a hybrid format. So my suggestion is we go maybe revisit this in May after we've added Mr. Knapp to our group and Mr. McCarron has said goodbye. And then we discuss again how we're feeling. But for now, I'd like to suggest we stay with this format.
I think that's reasonable. I like that, Tio.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
I accept that one. And also I had provided some information to Josie, just saying, okay, I settled my thoughts. And my thought was that since the city council is in chamber, that there have been some areas that it allows, they've already covered the protocol and the issues that, they've been covered. And I stream the city council meeting, and that's just what I wanted to add.
Thanks, Patty. What I have noticed is that the hybrid format at the city council does not appear to work very well. There are consistently one or two members of the council that aren't present in the room, and it makes it difficult for them to interact. Those that are in the council chamber seem to have, that it seems to limit discussion. And so this format, we're all sitting in front of a screen where we can see each other. And I really like the fact that we're all sort of on an equal footing and we have the ability to interact freely here. My biggest concern would be if we attempted that hybrid format, that it would lead to limit discussion. And I don't know that, I think the public would not benefit. Our job here is to be the representatives for the public, to hear hear comments from the public and do it in the most fair and complete way possible. And I think that this, to me, for our group, is more fair and more complete than a hybrid situation would be.
Tio, I have to say I agree with you with one caveat. I wonder if it might be of value to continue to extend the virtual option for the public if they were uncomfortable to come to a meeting and we had an in-person meeting. That way we wouldn't miss out on that.
Absolutely right. When and if we come, we will at some point go back to meeting in person, and at that point, we'll work with staff, and I'm sure that we'll have to address a protocol that allows someone to attend and make comment virtually.
I'll make the comment, and not that anybody cares since I'm rolling off, but I think it is important for this group to be together. Again, and virtually is fine. Health safety obviously comes first, but once everyone's ready and comfortable, I think it is good for us to be in person. And then I think it is good for us to be amongst the people to, hear what's going on. And, to Michael's point, kind of speaking to Tio, I think there's certain people that are advantaged by technology, and there's certain people that are advantaged by showing up in person. And you don't want to exclude either group. Making the public comfortable to get comment, the more comment we get, the more feeling from the public of what's going on around these projects, I think we make better decisions. So I would encourage that, again, the commission in person, and then allowing the public to join in as they are able and see fit. I think it's a win-win.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
A couple other just points so that you're aware. So on April 20th, we are going to be streaming the Planning Commission live. I think we're using YouTube Live, if that is correct, Josie. So we are going to be streaming that meeting to be able to get that meeting out to as many people as possible. The other thing I will let you know is that we are currently working on a virtual solution. So when we do go back to being in person or whatnot, we don't want to lose the ability to have some folks virtual, should they choose to, not because of health reasons or COVID reasons, because hopefully we're past that, but for convenience reasons, or they're out of town, or whatever other reasons are appropriate. However, we want to make sure that the technology works in an appropriate way so that we can manage that system, because we are shorter staffed than what we do at the council level with all the other component pieces to that. So we just want to make sure that when we do it well, and that we're representing the commission, the staff, the customer service, and all those aspects that are important, so that we're focusing on the case and not focusing on an issue related to how that case is presented.
So Ryan,
Oh, really quick, it'll be live streamed on the YouTube. It's also going to be on KATV, so channel 8 and 880 for April 20th.
okay. So
I like following, with the streaming, because it's a way of people really being exposed to the issues that are processed.
So Ryan, a question: when you say we want to retain the virtual access, would that be video as well as just phone? Because I think it was good enough just to have some people comment by phone during some of our meetings.
So I don't necessarily want to commit to a specific solution,
Okay.
Just because I'm not 100% sure what we're going to come up with. However, I do think that, we have some new technology in council chambers or whatnot with cameras and those types of things. So it would be nice to be able to have the visual aspect. I also think that both the community and the commission get a lot out of seeing somebody and not just hearing somebody. So we would like to go there, but I also don't know all the solutions yet.
Great. Anyone else?
Yeah, just one more, TO. We were told that we would be getting documents early before this meeting when we had the four items. Are we going to get for the April 20th meeting? Will we be getting some of those documents early to review them before the packet normally comes?
That's our plan. We have it might be our record packet of the largest packet that we've had. So get ready. But yeah, our plan is to have that packet ready. I'm just looking at the calendar really quick. I'm hoping that we'll have it ready and out to the commission by April 1st, and that will give you about a 2-week lead to review it, and then we'll send any other documents and items that we receive. So you'll kind of get a couple packet deliveries to make sure that we get you everything in a reasonable amount of time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Great. I'd like to follow up on that just quickly. We typically allow a lot of latitude in comment, especially from our planning commission, and often that includes things that you guys like or things you don't like, and they may not necessarily tie directly to the land development code. And Doug, I'm not going to pick on you, but tonight you made a discussion about maybe a fence or something that would break up that berm, and that wasn't in the case of tonight. We were a little bit lax, but that's not really tied to the land development code. The case next week is going to be contentious at best, or next month. And so I'm going to ask you all to look at the criteria for the decision that's in front of us for both the annexation and the rezoning, and be very narrow in your questioning and make sure you can tie it back to a specific criteria, just so that we, what we want to do from both groups of people are, of course, very interested, and we want to make sure that we leave a very clean record and very detailed questions so that the council can follow on and do their job appropriately as well. Emily, did I misstate anything there?
Nope, I think, we're gonna have some challenges of reining people in. And so I think it's great if we can stick to the criteria and set that tone. Hopefully, we'll at least do an efficient meeting. But I would recommend have your snacks close by because it could be a long night on April 20th.
All right. With that, anything else for the commission?
So I guess we should assume that if anybody's camera goes off for like half a second, they're like eating something.
Yeah. And if we need to, we'll call a timeout and everybody can have a bio break. All right. Rob?
Yeah, just want to mention, I know we've talked a lot about the April 20th meeting, but there will be a meeting on April 6th as well.
Okay. Outstanding. Anything else for the commission tonight to consider? Nope. All right. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone be safe.
Thank you.
Yeah, everybody.
Mask up.